Alright. Hey, I gotta do it over. I fucked up. Welcome to another episode of Boku no Enigma. I am your host, nigga, Zeus Alchemy, the Black Lion Priest. Alright. And today, man, I wanna talk about Heyoka Empaths. Oh yeah. Say hi, Shell. Shell's my king. I love Shell. These are fucking dope, by the way. But let me not digress. Uh, so, I was watching this video on YouTube called "Who Are the Heyoka Empaths?" from Enlightened Empaths, the YouTube channel. Right? I appreciate that channel and I appreciate the video, but I just wanted to give the world some perspective on the true essence of a Heyoka empath in how the magic works. This whole mirroring thing, because mirrors are portals, right? I got that from Enoch 777. And I watched this movie called Parallel. You know what I'm saying? On Amazon Prime, check that shit out, nigga. It's just trippy. Now, Sifu, right? This magic that I am teaching or disseminating on this YouTube channel is the essence of the seer in the Heyoka. Right? Now, Heyokas have been described as sacred clowns. Right? Now, the way that I conceptualize the sacred clown is, with this fucking deck, man. Interesting piece of alchemical work that we're dealing with here, if you didn't know. And so, the card I want to bring to your attention is the Joker, right? This guy right here. There you go. And so, when you think about the history of playing cards in the tarot, you have this phenomenon with the Joker where when the deck of playing cards was created, the Joker was not originally there. He came about for a particular game. And I can't remember if the Joker came before the tarot or after the tarot in history. I'm not entirely sure. I should do some more research. It's been a while. But if my theory serves, the Joker came together after the tarot, right? Because they don't know when the playing cards came out. Like, they don't know when they made these. But they know it was somewhere around the 14th, 15th century, right? They don't know who made it. They don't know when they made it. But the tarot came up shortly after that, right? Now, if you've ever played Persona, you have this story that deals with the archetypes, Carl Jung, the personas, and their shadows and their egos. That game is all about that. But the tarot is Kabbalah, right? It's the tree of life. And so, in essence, what a Heyoka or a sacred clown is the epitome of characters like the Joker, characters like Deadpool, characters like Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter. The idea of any clown or jester that we've ever seen in fiction. Now, these are what sacred clowns are. But in this reality, man, they gotta give you half-truths and whole lies. That's the law of engagement. So the shit is twisted, right? Now, a sacred clown or a Heyoka is just like any other YouTube channel would describe to you. They are mirrors. And what they reflect back to people is their shadows, their shadow selves. So when you play a game like Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5, the game introduces you to the main character, right? The main character becomes the wild card of the group, or the wild card of the story. The wild card is essentially what it means to be chosen in this lifetime, right? The idea of the Midas touch, of having many gifts, many blessings, abundance. When it comes to skills, intellect, creativity, right? And they border this twilight between insanity and insanity. In the same way that the Joker does, where it's just kind of like, if you look this nigga up, he's like super sane. He's so insane, he's sane. Same way like Kanye West is so creative that sometimes he makes shit and you just be kind of like, it be so left it's right, or so right it's left. Shit like that, right? So if you find yourself exuding these Heyoka like traits or this Heyoka like energy, elementally speaking, it's almost like I'm sorry. It's almost like Aries energy with Aquarius energy, with Libra energy, with Pisces, Scorpio, or Cancer, whatever water type energy. It's literally all of the elements. It's like everything combined, right? It kind of has to be to mirror everything. And so you may not even realize it, but everywhere you go and everyone you around, you begin to reflect the energy, right? So you look at the movie The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, and you can see how the chaotic environment, the toxic environment of the world of Gotham in that movie inadvertently turned somebody who had psychological problems into a mirror that reflected all the darkness that that city expressed, right? So the reality of that is that, you know, even if you look at the videos where they describe how Heyokas may have dyslexia or they may have some type of imbalance, in my case, I have an ADHD, right? Now, I've never been diagnosed with this stuff, but my inability to not focus and the fact that my hands are always shaking means that there's always this abundance of energy that Heyokas possess, right? And so with that, your attention, it's almost like being on a tab or on shrooms. You're literally tripping in and out of thoughts all the time. Daydreaming, but not dreaming. You know, it's like a day walker where, like, I don't dream often, but my waking life, nigga, is like Doctor Strange and the goddamn JoJo Pose song, nigga. My life is lit as delirious. For real. You know, like, this shit is magical. You know, but the difference with Heyokas, man, is where magicians practice magic, Heyokas become it. Difference. You think about, like, characters like Jiren and Hit on Dragon Ball Z. These ideas of these characters, these are niggas that literally transcend time. Niggas that transcend power. The idea, because words are sigils, they seal, right? You Pokeballs. Sigils, nigga. And so they are arbitrary at best. But the Heyoka is the enigma. This is why this is Boku no enigma. Alright? And so, and Boku means myself, even though I call myself that because I'm Black Goku, Boku, nigga. But I digress, man. And so, in order to really polish this Heyoka ability, I believe wholeheartedly that what one must do is develop the art of Sifu, right? Now, this shit, man, I want to say I'm coming up with it, but maybe I'm channeling it. Fucking cat. Maybe I'm channeling it and I'm piecing it together with my imagination as I go. It's a whole lot of shit going on with this shit, man. But I'm making videos about this shit, goddammit. And so, how I understand Sifu, again, it's seer in a Heyoka or sacred cow type of energy, right? Because when you think about the Joker in the Fool, in the tarot, in the playing cards, I think it tells a story. In my mind, since the playing cards came first, and there's a lot of alchemy and geomancy and just there's a certain level of intelligence in a deck of playing cards that it transcends man right now. Like there's it's too much symbolism in this shit. Numerology, alchemy, astrology, the lunar calendar. You could prophesize with this shit. Niggas play games with this shit. It's literally made to be the bridge to connect humanity, to prove that there's no separation, right? So in the tarot, the Fool is the beginning of the major arcana, and the Fool is the beginning of the story in the hero's journey or the hero's journey, right? And so the Fool, just like in Persona, you know, they're going through this whole journey of the soul. But in Persona, you're not the Fool, you're the wild card. You don't really have an arcana that you're attached to. Meanwhile, everybody else in this world or everybody else in the game, this living simulation, they have a role assigned to them. The wild card or the chosen can switch between any one. The wild card, though, only becomes that by going through the journey of the Fool in the tarot. So the beginning of the major arcana in the tarot is the Fool, but the end of the tarot is the world. And so the idea of Christ here is to be in the world but not of it. So by going through the journey of the tarot, meeting the magician, meeting the hermit, having the lovers, facing the devil, because Jesus and Mithra and any ascended master had to face the devil. You have to face your shadow self. Even in the Persona games, when you get in your goddamn allies and shit, before you get them, you usually got to go into their heart, their mind, their soul, their palace, their reality. Because we all have a different perspective in reality. You have to insert yourself into that. And then, once you get to the end of this shit, before you fight the boss being their shadow, you have to beat their shadow for them, right? And then once you beat the shadow, they have to come to terms with the fact that this is who they really are. I am thou and thou are I. They accept their shadow selves and then become one with it. Then they meet their higher selves, and now they can fight with their personas in the 13th hour in Tartarus, or, you know, goddamn it, in the goddamn TV world in Persona 4, and then, I don't know, I never played 5, but I guess it's memories, right? So, you know, does art imitate life or does life imitate art? Because at this point, I can't fucking tell. And that's what the nature of a Heyoka is, right? And so, what you want to do is you want to combine your logic with your intuition and your creativity. You have to put the tri together. You have to use all three. And the essence of the Heyoka, and the reason why a lot of different sources will emphasize the fact that the Heyoka empath is a super empath because it's closer to the source. It's closer to the source in terms of how many times it's gone through the iteration. Just like you got to go through so many different lifetimes before you could be a Pisces, or you have to go through so many different lifetimes, so much refinement of the soul to be like master teachers and shit like that in this life. It's kind of like the same thing, right? So once the Fool completes the journey through the tarot and gains the world without losing himself, right? Once he completes the journey, then he becomes the Joker in the deck of playing cards. And this is why the Joker trumps any card in the deck. This is why the Joker trumps the goddamn core. Because he's the fool that gained the world in the terror, right? And so even when you look at like Robert Greene's The Law of 48 Powers, yeah, that's it, right? The Law of 48 Powers. You look at that shit, right? The first law in that book is to not outshine the master, right? The reason why that's a law, and the reason why Heyoka shattered that, is because the idea of outshining the master is displaying your light, your soul, S-O-L, your brilliance, your genius, or your genius, right? And a lot of niggas speak on jinns, but if you listen to like Rudolf Steiner, this nigga talks about how angels are made from like, you know how we're composed of like all the elements, earth, fire, water, air. You know what I'm saying? Like angels are made of like light and smoke and fire, or not light, not fire, light, smoke, and air, and then develop the fire trait. These niggas are born on stars and suns, and only then are they human. But they're made from light, air, and smoke. You know what the fuck that sounds like? A jinn. Genies. And so, you know, even when you think about extraterrestrials and aliens and shit like that, you know, angels were the first sons. They were the first living things. And so this shit works like delegation. This is what priesthoods were all about. Right? Because what's the use in having all the power? You wanna delegate that shit. All for one, one for all. That's my hero, nigga. And so in order to master this gift, because it's a gift, the Heyoka is the master teacher. The Heyoka is the high priest, the pure. And they're pure because in this game, everything here is designed to taint you and rob you of your imagination and rob you of your childhood, your innocence. But the one thing it can never do that to is a Heyoka. These are the children that, you know, these are the Peter Pan niggas. These are the niggas that got older. They never grew up. And there's a difference. There's a high vibration of that and a low vibration of that. It's the difference between being childlike and childish. Alright? So you want to master or study the Kabbalah. You want to study the tarot. You want to study the archetypes, right? This is the nature of Sifu, because the nature of Sifu is the application of that wisdom. So knowing or having the awareness, right? Because knowing is half the battle, that this is what you are, that you're a mirror. You want to know all the different ways or different rays or different angles by which you reflect, which is 22, right? It's the goddamn Hebrew alphabet. It's the goddamn 22 is the master number, the master builder, because 4 gives you the principality. This is why there's 4 elements. 5th if you count the unseen. So that 22, that paradox, catch 22, get it? Right? Where it's all polarities, north, south, east, west, all at the same time, yet none at all. You have to master the archetype of the fool. You have to understand its strengths and its weaknesses. You have to understand, overstand, understand, right? And the difference with this is being able to have an eye, an understanding, like a general sense where you can convey it in the way that I have, right? With clarity and sincerity, right? You want to be able to have an understanding to be able to grasp the concept to begin with. And some things are not going to be immediately in your grasp, right? Legit, nigga. I read a book called How to Read a Book, and it described it. You ain't never came across certain books and certain people's material where it's just kind of like mind blown, where it's just kind of like a little bit too much. You got to put the shit down. High concentrations of energy, high concentrations of light, high concentrations of brilliance, and that's a lot to take in sometimes. So you gotta spoon feed yourself. Right? But if you're a Heyoka, you have to have that tact. And a part of that tact is knowing what archetypes you're dealing with. So if you know how the Fool operates in its highest vibration, you know it's shadow. If you know the Lover's highest vibration, you know there's shadow. Right? So when you come into a place, you the wild card. You could be anything at any point the moment you come in space with someone. So the awareness of where a person is in that arcana, in the situation, is the see. Fool. Why is it called see fool? See. S-E-E. You have to be able to see. See in the goddamn nation of gods and earths, the supreme alphabetics is the cream. Right? Or S-E-A. See. Because we are in cycles or seasons. And our bodies are 2/3 water, and so we are sons of the sea. This is why there's webbing in this shit. People, mind. We are all drops of the ocean of God. You feel me? And so each person is their own world, their own sea, because each world is 2/3 water. Everything here is 2/3 water, because God gave the law of abundance to water. Right? So you gotta understand, G, that as the wild card, as the persona, you know what I'm saying, the monk with 1,000 masks, you know, being able to walk into a room and recognize that you're gonna be mirroring whatever the fuck is wrong here, lets you know what you gotta be and what you're dealing with. So you may come in the room and you may be the high priestess. And you may be dealing with someone who is a devil. So guess what you're gonna have to do? Exorcism. You may walk in that bitch. It might not have the goddamn dominion. You know what I'm saying? You might be dealing with an emperor or an empress. So what you gotta be? You gotta play the fool. You feel me? You have there's everybody plays the fool sometimes. God damn it, it's a song for a reason. All right, so. You know, look, man, this is just me signing off. I'm going to go ahead and try to break down how I'm understanding, you know what I'm saying, the shit as I go along. I'll try to provide as many sources as I can. You know, Persona, Shimigami Tensei's Persona, the spinoff, nigga, that was a big inspiration for how I came about this. Studying cartomancy was a big inspiration for this. Looking into the tarot, I don't read tarot, right? But I understand it. And you know what I'm saying? It's a reason why it's permeated over time. Yo, so this is Zeus Alchemy signing off, man. Y'all niggas enjoy the day. Shalom.